Good evening. I'm Mark Cuevas, and welcome to New Media Week. Today I'm speaking with Ian Moffitt, General Manager of Machinima Prime. So Ian, thank you for joining me. Tell me about how you came to Machinima.
Via circuitous route, really through from traditional television originally. I was, obviously I'm from England, worked at various production companies over there, and then actually moved to the US, moved to LA and ran a joint venture that Endeavour did with IMG, and then moved to BBC Worldwide Productions, were just after Dancing with the Stars had kicked off, and we built Top Gear on the History Channel as well, and what I kind of see as a decompression chamber from traditional into digital. It was a gradual move because I started overseeing the digital side of things in terms of content at BBC Worldwide, and then moved to, so I was part of my remit there, and then I moved to Berman Braun, which is, with Gail Berman and Lloyd Braun, very rooted in traditional, but their growth area was digital, and so I was running the digital side of things there, and then wholly now here at Machinima, it is all digital all the time, so all YouTube all the time.
Since you came from a traditional background, tell me now about the emergence of premium programming on platforms like YouTube and such. How would a project like Mortal Kombat or Receiver find a home on Machinima?
So with projects like Mortal Kombat and Receiver, those were really came from talent relationships that Machinima had at a time when there was a real move towards premium content on YouTube. I think that definition has gone through an evolution in terms of what people are starting to expect. But with Mortal Kombat in particular, Kevin Tantron did his short online. He then, I think there was some, there's kind of much of a legend and myth around it about Warner Brothers actually tackled him about using Mortal Kombat and weren't too happy. He then actually turned that on his head and said, well, actually you should let me make a whole series online. And then Machinima partnered with Warner Brothers, and Mortal Kombat is probably now currently the most successful web series in history, and I think it was a real game changer at the time, which then laid the groundwork for other series, not just on Machinima but across YouTube as a whole, particularly like Receiver and Bite Me, which we just finished the second season of Bite Me. So as that has evolved at the same time, that segued nicely with YouTube starting to look at their whole original channels, original content channels initiative, and so Machinima Prime, which is my piece of the Machinima Empire, or one of my pieces of the Machinima Empire, is our YouTube funded channel. So it's very much a partnership with YouTube to bring scripted, non-scripted series, episodic content to YouTube.
What is it that you're looking for specifically in the programs that you're choosing for the channels?
Well, in terms of what we talk as the evolution of the Machinima brand, obviously it very much started in gaming. We now talk about it as a lifestyle brand for gamers. So it's really everything around the world of gaming, and actually that demographic as a whole, that 18 to 34 demographic, which makes up a large percentage of who our audience is. And how we talk about Machinima Prime is it's really an entertainment network inspired by the passions and lifestyles of our audience. So there are things around music, there are things around, we know in terms of from the gaming side of things, they do like the odd bit of violence and gore, we know that. They like high octane experiences, which is why people like Devin Supertramp do very well, with his incredibly beautifully shot stunts. So it's not all gaming related content, that's really where the core of it came from. So with Prime we have a mix, we have some reality shows that are of that high octane type, like X-Arm, which is our combat sport, but really what it's driven by is the tent poles like Mortal Kombat that was done last year. So the first of those will be the Halo 4 Forward Unto Dawn live action series that Microsoft and 343 Studios are producing ahead of the release of Halo 4 in November. So that series sits on YouTube on Machinima Prime.
Tell me a bit more about Halo 4 and what should we be expecting and what's gearing up for its debut in October?
Well, we have at the moment, there's some of the mythology is around and about. Microsoft are understandably very secretive and nay controlling, as they have a right to be, about exactly what is in the show. I can speak more to the quality of what we can expect to see, which you can see if you go to Machinima Prime, which is youtube.com/Machinima Prime, all one word. You will see the full-length trailer for the show there, which lays out some of the story. It leaves some questions, obviously. We don't want to give everything away, but suffice to say, Master Chief plays an enormous role. And it's actually set at the academy, the training academy, for the soldiers before they go off to battle.
With the live action in the scripted format, what is the commitment to this type of programming going forward?
For Prime, certainly, it's going to make up a large portion of the shows that we're doing. We're looking to do something between 30 and 40 original series this year, ranging in scale from projects like Forward Unto Dawn to projects on the reality side of things, an alternative. But we have just committed to 4 animated shows, and we committed to 2 scripted comedies, and we're about to do another 2 more. So those will all roll out at some point between now and the end of the year. We also have 2 more reality shows in development that we're just in deal stages with at the moment. But the scripted series is really what is a large part of what it's all about, and many of those are actually in partnership with people from influencers from our network. We're working with Zoocosis, who guys do high-end sketch, so we're doing a sketch show with Zoocosis. We're in advanced conversations with Reckless Tortuga, who have a couple of shows on network, like Psycho Girlfriend is one of the ones they did, which is absolutely fantastic. And so that's another big part of the Machinima model, is that we work with these people to help build their audience, build their community and their content, market their content, and now we're taking that to the next level, in that we're really, they're becoming the go-to production companies almost for Machinima Prime.
Is there, or do you feel that there has been a shift of any sort towards more of a geeky culture in the programming, as opposed to the tentpole gaming culture that was the basis of Machinima?
Well, I think it's a much more mainstream thing than that. I mean, we have in excess of 180 million unique users a month, so that's not one homogenous lump of viewers. There's a hell of a lot of diversity in there. Mostly, the one thing that doesn't tend to change, although it's shifting slightly, is that it's very male skewing, obviously. But there's a big range of ages and all types of. Particularly, we're a global brand. So clearly it's a very diverse audience. I don't think we know that gaming is really the core inspiration, and the kind of the geek nerd culture is clearly a large part of that as well, but it doesn't mean that everybody's in their basement playing World of Warcraft 24 hours a day. I think we have a very diverse audience that likes an entire range of games, from Minecraft to the much bigger games like Mortal Kombat and the old classics and the new stuff that's coming out. So I think our guys are inspired by gaming in all kinds of ways, and we talk about a lot of the big now mainstream brands like South Park or Avatar or Game of Thrones, that are all based in that fantasy world and driven by the kind of literature or the kind of properties that really 4, 5, 6 years ago even may well have been considered pretty kind of towards the edges of mainstream, but are now very much at the center. And I kind of always draw the parallel with hip hop, late 80s, early 90s, where it was very underground, and then there were certain, for want of a better word again, influencers, and in particular in the UK, like David Beckham is always credited with bringing hip hop influences from clothes to the dogs to the cars to the music and the bling, bringing that into a very mainstream position. And I think that's where gaming culture and gamer lifestyle is very much now, is a much more mainstream, acceptable, accessible piece of life than lifestyle than it might have been considered 10 years ago.
Ian, tell me about your relationship with YouTube.
It's great. I mean, obviously I work with the YouTube execs a lot. They're very much part of our. I mean, they let us do our thing. We know what we're doing, but clearly they have a lot of clout and a lot of different tools that they can help us with from a promotional perspective and a know-how side of things. I actually think the bigger thing I have a relationship with at YouTube is actually the CMS, the content management system. The CMS and I have an ongoing 24/7 love affair where I'm never off that thing, because I can see everything that our audience is doing on a day-to-day basis. I can see which annotations they're clicking on and which they're not. I can see when they drop off from a particular episode and when they stay. Retention rates, it's fantastic. In fact, it's a potentially dangerous rabbit hole, because actually I don't get, as danger I might not get any work done because I'll just stay on there all day. But I'm quite, I like to bring that strategic piece to what we're doing, is that there is a way of using data to see what our audience is telling us they like and what they don't like, and that's not just in the comments box and the likes and dislikes. That's in actually how they're acting and reacting, and that's not rocket science. It's nothing new, but YouTube are improving the CMS every day with new initiatives.
What's been the biggest surprise for you from working with the company? What's been the most surprising element or thing you've learned?
Well, I'd say the biggest surprise is I mentioned it before, but they really, you have a certain preconception, because people that know Machinima think gaming and that's it, and there is a certain, rightly or wrongly, a certain preconception about what that means in terms of the people that are in that world. And I think the biggest surprise has been the diversity of our audience in terms of the kind of content across the breadth and size of the network, which of course is no surprise, like I say, given that we have so many, like 180 million users a month. But there are certain appetites as well that I didn't know, like electronic music is big with our audience. Now when you see footage of a Deadmau5 or a Skrillex concert, that doesn't look like people you would think are going to be into gaming, but certainly there is a hell of a lot of crossover between that and our audience. So there's just certain things like that have been a bit of a surprise, but actually really when you dig into it, with such an enormous number of people, there's always going to be an enormous amount of diversity.
What makes Machinima Machinima?
I think it is a combination of the audience and it's a combination of the audience's passion and their willingness to communicate that. As they say where I come from, they say what they like and they like what they say. They're very, very opinionated and forthright, and I think that's great for us. We get to know exactly what they're thinking, and I think that's a key part of the Machinima machine, as it were, and our ability to react to that. But also, I think really is the network of partners that we have as well. People that have become very proficient at producing incredible quality content across the range from gameplay footage to live action comedies and dramas, and I think that's where a large part of that's really what makes Machinima Machinima.
Ian, thank you for joining me.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure.
I'm Mark Cuevas. This is New Media Weekly. Thank you for joining me.